What it is? What's up? Kalani Ture. Yeah. Yo. Joe Hamors. Welcome guys to Scroof's Corner. I am Scroof Magwaza. Excuse man, I spent 5 minutes. Sorry. Sorry, there's a fly in the room. Now, I personally believe that God made bees and everything that is good. But because Satan is a copycat, he said, oh, even me, I can make that. And Satan made flies. Flies, Komodo dragons, and mosquitoes were made by, what is his name? Satan. Satan made those three animals. Anyway, welcome to my corner. I'm Scroof Magwaza, also known as Poloso. I thought today I should, so I thought today I would make content, a more personal content, a get to know me content, just to share about my life's journey. I made a tweet earlier that it's going to be a bit more personal because I'm going to be sharing my trials and triumphs, because most of the time we see people on social media and we have this preconceived notion that their life is good. Like you see me in a Mini Cooper and you see me always heavy, like, guy man, this girl doesn't have problems. Yay! You don't know. So this is just for me to share a bit about myself, personal stuff about myself, just to inspire another person that whatever it is that you're going through, if I could go through what I went through, then you could also make it through. And this is not to invalidate whatever it is that the other person is going through. And I'm a firm believer that one person's problems are not above the other person's problems. Like Sialingan, so we're all going through things. Like my trials are not bigger than yours, and your trials are not bigger than mine. We are all going through something, and we should learn to be more kinder to each other. And hence, I'm the person that I am. My daily prayer is to be kind to people and to love people just as God loves them, and to be true also, and to bring an aura to people that is very real and authentic. And yeah, so I hope you have your tissues because I have mine. So my name is Poloso Yamorena, meaning the Lord's salvation. Nothing salvatating about me. But I think going through life, I'm also learning the meaning of my name and why my mom, or why God, guys, why God told my mom to name me Poloso. And I'll make a story about how that name came about. Anyway, I am the last of 2 daughters. I have an older sister, Moronga. She is 40 this year. Magriza's firstborn child. My second mother, she's 40. I am 32. She's 8 years older than me. I call her Shotine because she is. So that name is stuck with her. I'm the last of 2 daughters. I was raised by my mom. I don't know my dad or the side of his family. I wonder. But anyway, the absence of my father did affect me big time, and that would be a story that I make when I have other people and we're talking about that conversation. But today's just about me and how I grew up and whatnot. So I grew up in Alexandra. So the house that I grew up in, guys, think of 4 bathroom stalls. Put them together, you get a 1-room house. That's how big the house I grew up in was. And we didn't have electricity growing up. That's why even now when there's load shedding, I'm not phased, because for the most part of my life I grew up kakerese le paraffin stove, So we grew up 14 and it was a one-room house, and my mom, myself, and my sister used to share a three-quarter bedroom. And I once made a thread about this. So we used to share a three-quarter bedroom, and the bed was mounted on tins, paint. So the paint was finished, and then we put soil in it, and then we mounted the bed on top of it. Under the bed, my books stayed there, kamkharha school bag, and there was like a vascom that we used to put all our shoes in there. And whatever that didn't have space in the house, in the room, we put it under the bed. And so walking in this way, on the right, nearly like display, you know, those rakas that old people have, and they put dishes for visitors. We had that, and underneath it was a skotlolo sarijana. It was orange. I remember it was this big, and we used to wash dishes in it. And then underneath it, so we put it on top of 3 pots that we used to use for cooking. Next to that display was a wardrobe. So in that wardrobe, the 3 of us used to share that wardrobe. I had the bottom section where all my clothes were there. The hangers were my mom's clothes, and then the other side was blankets and my sister's clothes. Then there was the bed here. Then underneath the bed, the shoes and whatever that we didn't have space for. And then on this side, it was a cupboard that we used to put our dishes, dijana and whatnot. Then my mom, I'll tell you about my mom. My mom bought an electric stove that we're using currently at the house. When we didn't have electricity, then there was the stove. Then next to the stove, there was a paraffin stove. And then on top of the stove, there was like a candle holder with a candle. So we lit by candle every day. Lit by candle, cook up paraffin stove. And, oh guys, life was hard. Life, like life was hard in Alex. Like life was really hard. Like I had 1 pair of shoes. The whole year, I would wear 1 pair of shoes, school shoes, you know. But never once did I question my mom for why things were the way that they were. Because I saw that woman, she was trying, and she used to work as a cleaner at some company, and she used to get paid 700 rand, and 400 would go to my sister, because my sister was Go Rhodes University. Thankfully, because God is God, she got a bursary to study Go Rhodes University. And 400 would go to her, and from the 300 that would be left, mom would go to work, and the rest would have to share and buy food. And sometimes I'd go to school hungry and come back home still hungry, and the bread tin didn't have any bread. My staple food growing up was blue ribbon brown bread. That's all I knew. And it was only on that day, maybe once after 6 months, where there would be meat or there'd be mazambani, you know. But all the time it would be brown bread, buchobe, moroch. That's all I knew. And I didn't question why things were the way that they were. And you know, growing up, I didn't make a lot of friends. Like the people that I used to grow up with, some of them didn't want to be my friends because I smelled of paraffin. We didn't have electricity at my house, nothing. And they'd be like, yo, asifuna no pulus or pulusunugi paraffin, that type of thing, you know? And it was sad because why am I being excluded from being a child for circumstances that I have no control over? Over circumstances that I had no control over. But I accepted that I was different. My situation at home is different, and it's okay, you know? And I remember this one time, and I was talking to my sister about it, and I didn't think that the same thing happened to her. I remember this one day I came back from school hungry, like I was really hungry, and we lived next door to my mom's uncle and his family, and one of his kids, I think they always knew what time I'd be home. And and she's walking to the bin and I'm walking into the yard. And she has sija and the sija had pap and gravy and meat. And she sees me and she pretends as if she's talking to me or talking to herself or whatever. And she throws the food in the bin and says, Rona areji dijo tsa maobane. And then walks away, throws the food and walks away. And because I was so hungry, the hungry side of me was like, you know there's no food where you're going, so why don't you just take some for yourself? But my mother always taught me that which means that no matter how poor you are, have pride. And I didn't take that food from the bin. And I went home and I stayed there and I just waited for my mom to come back because that's all I could do. I remember when I was really hungry and there was no food, I would sleep. Because then I would wake up around 6 o'clock knowing that my mom is almost home. And whatever that she got from work, whether it was a can of Coke, whether one of her bosses was having pie and they didn't finish it, they would give it to her. She would bring it home and she wouldn't eat it. And she would get home and her and I would share it, you know. And that's just how life was. And I used to walk to school and I didn't have shoes. And you know how there's this thing, we call it ukdlalisa, playing house. And each one of us would bring something from home to share with our other friends. And I always brought blue ribbon brown bread, you know. And that's all I had. That's all I had. But I remember this one time they said I couldn't play nabo because I always bring isinkwa. And I was like, there's nothing for me to bring. I can't bring inyama engeko endlini, you know. I can't bring rice esiyong. And that's all I had. And I wouldn't play with them, and I would stay at home with my mom. And just outside, my friends were playing, and I couldn't play now, but because I didn't have food, and my mom would be like, "What's all the mama?" And be like, "No, but it's about because like it's all the time." And she'd be like, "It's okay, just let them be, you know." And I wouldn't play. And I loved TV growing up. I really loved TV, but there was no TV in my house. Like, there's no way we could plug TV on the paraffin stove. And next door, I would go and watch TV. And I remember this one time I went there, and my mom's, the wife to my mom's uncle, this one time switched off the TV. Like, I walked in, like I normally would every day to watch when Generation was still Generation. And I walked in to watch Generations. And she switches off the TV. And the whole family is like, "How? Why would you my TV?" Like, "No, I'm not gonna switch it on until Puluso leaves." And I'm like, "But I've been coming here for so long watching TV. Why all of a sudden?" And yeah, that day was the last day I ever watched TV. And I was sad because I knew that the following day at school they would be discussing Generations and I wouldn't have anything to say. And all the time they would ask me how so why when every time when we were discussing yesterday's TV shows when you don't say anything. And I'd be like, because at home we don't have electricity. And this was what, 2004, 2005. And people will always be shocked that at this age you don't have electricity. What's going on? Then I would have to explain my story at home that no, I don't have electricity because like a snow gesi ekaya. But yeah, that was that, you know. That's how I grew up. And never once did I question my mom about why things were the way that they were. Never once did my sister question why things were the way they were. you know. We just said, my mom always taught us to pray, and just to pray. My mom oh this my mom taught us to pray. She was like, pray mudimude, you know. That's all I knew. And the first time that I slept in my own room on my own bed was 11 November 2006. That was the first time I would walk into a house and I would switch on the lights. That was the first time I would walk into a bathroom that isn't shared with 15 other people. That was the first time I would bath without having to boil a kettle of water and pour into a dish. That was the first time I slept in my own bed, in my own room. My room is bigger than the house that I grew up in. That was the first time I would make a cup of tea without having to worry that ngiceda iparafini yakusasa when I have to boil water to go to school, to bath and go to school. That was the first time I sat on a sofa because the people, our family, didn't want us to sit on their sofas. So they had us sit on the floor while everybody else would sit on the sofa. And to this day, I don't sit on the sofas as a family. I don't, because I was never allowed to sit on them growing up. That was the first time. And imagine, my mom was born in 1948, 2006, 48, 58, 68, 78, 88, 98. She was 50 something when she had her own bed, because even for her growing up, her mom passed away when she was 3 months old, so she was raised by her grandmother. So even for her, sleeping on her own bed was on that day, 11 November 2006. And thankfully, because mudimu ki mudimu, my sister got a job and my sister bought us a house where my mom is staying now. And I'm grateful for my sister. I'm so grateful for my sister. Like, my sister, guys, my sister. Oh, my sister, guys. I don't know anybody as selfless as my sister. And my prayer is always that, can I be as half as a woman that she is? My sister gave me waboshi. My sister took me to school. My sister paid for my fees when I failed. My sister loved me irrespective of anything that I did to her, you know. My sister, my sister, guys. Those who know my sister, they know the gem that she is. And yeah, we stayed in Bramley from 2006. This was when I was like, I have my own room and whatnot, and life was better. And yeah, I went through varsity, UJ, started diploma in accounting. Then I got a job at one of the biggest private banks, and life was sort of coming together. But when you could first car, you know, then you, like we see, because God will change the narrative of your life when everybody else has written you off. Shabu. And that was how I grew up, the first part of it. Sorry, I've been crying so much. And from 2014 to date, this will be about my journey. And 2014, we go 2015, beginning of 2015, I buy a car, life is good. And then I always say that the trajectory of my life, and for me to know who I am and my purpose and what I'm supposed to do on this earth, happened on the 26th of July, 2015. So what happened that day is I was sexually assaulted by somebody that I used to work with. Let's call him Jandine. And I won't get into details about that. But I always say to somebody that asked me about that day is that that was the best and worst thing that could ever happen to me. Worst because of the act itself. Best because something in me switched in a sense that I knew then who God was in my life. Let's not take away the whole situation that this happened, but with this happening, I found God. You know, I knew God to be the healer that He is. And I remember the night it happened, I called one of my friends and I was crying. And I called one of my friends, I'm like, hey, I'm at such a place. This just happened. Please come get me. And then my phone died and my friends couldn't come get me. They didn't know where I was. So I was stuck with this person who had to take me home. And he dropped me off at home, like, I'm sorry, I thought you wanted it. And I was just like, how? Like, I don't understand. Then I called my one friend at the time, was like, hey, our friend did this, and she was just as shocked as I was. And I've never been a suicidal person until the morning after. I remember we used to live with a lady at home, and I remember I thought to myself, I can't get through this. I can't get through this. And I took my car keys and I went outside, and in my head all I could think of is that today is the day that I die. And I'm sorry to my mom for the pain that she's going to feel, and I'm sorry to my sister for the pain that she's going to feel, but I can't go through this. And the only plan that I had was that I was gonna drive on the M1 N1, and where the barriers that are dividing the oncoming and whatever I was gonna drive onto the other side, and I didn't care if I were to put the other person at risk. My plan was that today is the day that I die. But my sister, who was there at the time, saw that I was just out of it, and she just ran to me and took my car keys. She's like, you're not going to drive in the state. And she doesn't realize it, but that is the day that she saved my life. Because all I could think of was that there is no way I can get through this. There is no way I can get through this. I need to die, and I need to die today. And then after that, stuff started happening at work, and one day I was just like, I'm done with work. I'm resigning. I can't do this anymore. I can't, how I am now, the weight that I am. I went from this size to this size in a few months. I went from a good size 34 to a good size 2. I was this tiny. My collarbones were showing, and I just lost weight. And people were like, Puluto, what's going on? Like, something is not right. And I couldn't tell anybody what was going on with me. I just couldn't, And people were, I was like, oh, I lose weight. Are you going through something? I'm like, no, Kishabu, because I was always bubbly, but I was thin. Then the job ended, and I was unemployed. But I remember I would wake up every day just after my mom and my sister left for work. I would wake up, and I had certain times that I used to wake up. I would wake up at 9 o'clock and watch Stephen Furtick give a sermon on TBN. And I've always said that the day I make money, I am going to a Stephen Furtick and TD Jakes sermon, because those two men pulled me out of the trenches when there was no lifeline for me. And I would wake up every day at 9 o'clock, and I had no will to live None whatsoever. And I would wake up and I would just say a prayer like, God, if you can keep me for the next hour, I would be grateful. I literally lived hour by hour from 2015 till 2017. I would even pay attention to how I breathed. I knew my breath and I counted my breath because that's how painful the whole thing was. I was just like, Gosi, if ungangigcina for the next hour, then I'll be fine. I basically lived hour by hour. And I would wake up and I would watch Stephen Furtick. I would read my Bible. I would sleep. So all I did was wake up, watch Stephen Furtick or TD Jakes, eat, sleep. That's all. That was me, because being awake meant me facing this thing. And I remember one day I was like, let me take a drive. And I love my car. I love my car so much. I call my car Tuso Yabafumanehi because my car knows me. My car is my sanctuary. My car is the place where I used to pray when life was, and even now, I pray in my car when life gets hard. I just take a drive and I just drive to nowhere land and I just talk to God. And just one time I remember, it was like as if I was having a conversation with God. Was in the car with me and we were having a conversation. And my question to him was that, why did you let this happen? And I can remember distinctively a voice saying, why do you think that I did this? And I was like, but this person did this. And he was like, but then I told you not to go with this person. And I remember the day, hours before the incident, we were taking off-ramp. So when you're on Modderfontein, and there's an off-ramp joining the N3. I remember as we were taking that off-ramp, something said, go back home, Pulos. But I woke up as like, man. The only thing that, the worst thing that could happen is that I get into an accident, I didn't think that far. And what happened changed my life. And in the conversation with God, I was like, did I not tell you not to go, Pulos? And I was like, you did. And this is a conversation between me and myself and God. I was like, but you still went. Like, yeah, I still went. And what happened? This is what happened. Okay. And then I was like, I can't go through this alone. I can't tell people about it. I don't want to tell people about it. I didn't even lay charges because of the stigma that people can put upon you when you say this has happened to me. I didn't want to go to court. I didn't want to go through all of that. So I was like, God, I didn't take the legal route to get this sorted. Please help me get through it. Just the two of us without. And I told my family, my sister, a year after it happened. 1 year. All the time, I was just going through it alone. And I was like to God, I've heard people say you are a healer. This is when I need to find out from you that you are the healer that you say you are. I need to know. And it was just, from then onwards, it was just a constant conversation, constant prayer. Like I'd have a scripture, read the scripture, and somewhat feel the burden leave. And with that, I knew God to be the healer that he is. I built a strong relationship, a strong spiritual relationship with God, and to know that noma ivunguvungu zivela ukhona ngiholayo. And it shook me to know that it changed me above all things, because nani ke lengwanya na strata. I was that girl, and it that brought me back to life. Hence I'm saying it's the worst and best thing that ever happened to me. It brought me back to life, and I found my feet, and I knew who my maker was. I knew who my creator was, and I knew that whatever happens in life, he will get me through it. I just need to lean onto him. And sometimes I don't lean, most times I don't even lean on people or my friends or whatever. I'm just like, Mudimu ding. Uteng, Mudimu uteng. I've seen him and Mudimu ding. So that is one thing that happened to me. And after that, I was unemployed for a good 6 months. No work. And I wasn't even sending out CVs. Like, I was just like, this is what I'm dealing with, and I need to find my feet. So the whole thing with work went on from July to October. Then October 2016, I resigned. And that was when I was like a slender Melinda. So from 2016, October to Feb of 2017, I was unemployed. And in that space, woke up every day 9 o'clock, prayed, sleep 8. And like after I had the conversation, after the drive where I had a conversation with God, I started eating, and I could hold a conversation with somebody without thinking that they're seeing what I'm going through. And like my weight started picking up, you know. And my friends would be like, gain weight, are you better now, you know? And it was until I took Ipanium and gave it to God that I started feeling slightly like myself, you know. And I was unemployed, but I was not looking for work. All I was focusing on, I was caught up in this thing, I need to spend time with God and heal and get into a better place. So 2017, I got a job, worked at a call center. And you know, when you are from there and life just say humbulega. I have a saying that when life humbles you, humbulega. Otherwise, it will always take you to the same spot. And I went from working for one of the biggest banks, and my career was booming, to working at a call center. And I never thought, I would ever work at a call center. That's why I was like, sometimes when you find yourself in a position, or in any area of your life, in a position where you never thought you would be, life has a lesson for you. And my lesson, because I was like, I worked at life was like, you will go take calls when people will swear at you over the phone until you learn the lesson that you need to learn. And I never thought that I would ever work at a call center. So I get the job at the call center. The first few months were horrible because I was still caught up in the thing that, no, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be speaking Ariel 13 English there in Sentin. I here in Joburg CBD and talking Monday Vedana 16 English. And the first few months were horrible. Until one day I was like, you know what, Polosone? This moment right here is where you are. And you don't know how long you're going to be in this position. And the longer your mindset is set on you don't belong here, it is going to cripple you. It is going to make you uncomfortable, and you're going to be very sad. So you need to change what's in here and say, this is the job that you have now, and make the most out of it. I promise you, from then I started performing in the job, and I performed well, and I took the calls every day, you know, every day. Like, I live day by day. That's how I live my life. So if you see me happy today, I'm happy today. I might be sad tomorrow, but today I am happy, and that's all that matters. I would go to the job, and I used to dress up every day. You see how I dress up now? I used to dress up then at the call center. And the environment, the people didn't dress up because they were just like, hey, call center. I mean, I was just like, I'm not here to stay. I'm here now, but I'm going somewhere in life. So I'm in Sentin. My mindset is in Sentin. It's not here. But while I'm here, I'll do the best. And I remember, like, I got compliments. I was good at the job. And then that job ended. And that job ended because it didn't end. I resigned. And here's how I resigned. I'm a very spiritual person. Since the incident, I listened to my gut more than anything else. And I remember it was on a Wednesday. It was end of April going into Easter holidays. And I'm sitting at the job and I'm like, hi. And we were supposed to come back on Tuesday after the Easter holiday because it was Easter Monday, then Tuesday we're coming back in May. And when something just said, resign now. I'm like, resign? With no plan? Yo. Hi. Then I start typing the letter. I'm like, hey, as of today, this is my last day. Deuces, bye. And I resigned that day. No plan, no savings, no whatever. Something just said, resign, Apollos. And I resigned. I went home and told my mom that Contractified, and they wanted us to re-interview for the next 6 months. But something just said, resign. And I resigned. I went home with like, Contractified. And my mom and my sister, because they are such amazing people, they're like, okay, so we will pay for your car then. And here's the thing, when all of this happened, when I was raped and I lost my job and I was unemployed and whatnot, I never, to show that God is the provider that he says he is, guys, I never missed a car installment. I never missed insurance premiums. I never lacked clothes. I never lacked. Like my mom and my sister took care of me during those times. Like I got my provident fund and I paid whatever that I paid. But the 25 again, David order ya mini kupane yetwa to show that, like the only way I can explain it is to say God is the provider that he says he is. And sometimes he will put you in situations where what you're seeing is your situation and what you're going through, but he can see beyond what is it that you're going through. And I was like, came back like, I'm 4.6 more. And my mom paid for my car, my sister paid for my insurance. And they're like, I'll look at data, let us know, you know? And we moved. That was April. I resigned in April. Then May, June, July the 7th, I get a call. Hey, I've never applied for a job anyway. I've always been phoned for a job. Hey, there's a job for you at the Red Bank. Can you do it? I'm like, today. Go to the interview, ace the interview. Plus, because I worked there and there, they were like, you are the girl for this job. So I go there, and they lied to us. We know those people. They said that the job is for something else. Only when on Monday, when we come, they're like, call center. And I was like, fuck, call center again. And why I get also why we call center. But because I worked a year and 2 months at the 3 bank call center, I was just like, man, let's span it is for me. Old steams, what do they call it? Old trains on steam, something about the steaming and the train. All systems go. Like, no, and I can do that. I can promise you guys that because of the positive outlook on life that I have and the willingness to be taught a lesson by the universe when it's time for my class, when it's time for my lesson. I worked 6 weeks on the calls and then they moved me. How they moved me is like this. I get it, I use my knees. So I was like, I don't want to take calls. I want to do something. So this one time, they had like the call center and the email box. I was like, no, man. So I talked to my team leader. I'm like, go the emails in. I want to show you what I can do in one day by myself. She's like, okay, fine. Get the headset. Get the as always said. Do emails. 150 emails done in one day by the screw. And then my team is like, how did you do it? I'm like, no, man. When it's time for me to work, it's time for me to work. My team leader says, no, you know what? Take this girl, take her out of the calls, put her on emails. I work with emails. So every day now, I was going written communications. And if you like, who was the other bank? So now I'm starting. So now I started introducing how to draft responses, like corporate responses, because but also used to reply to client emails as if like they were replying to their WhatsApp. So now can now all draft deal draft the auto response and the business starts using it. But unfortunately that ended in December of 2018. But because just I've seen God in my life, guys. Like even when things don't go according to my plans, but I know just so as the contract is ending December of 2018, a friend of mine is like, hey, Romela CV. Agiri. Romela CV. There's a job somewhere. That's where I am now. So I sent my CV and I've been there for like 2, going on my 3rd year now. And what my life has taught me from a young age, from when I used to live go 14, go Alex, until now, is that the same God that did it then is the same God that can do it now. Isantse ile modimo le kajeno ha ba lo le dilemo. Ohlezi esihlalweni sobukhosi ezulwini usanamandla namhlanje. And sometimes, and this is me to you guys, sometimes we go through stuff and we think there is no way out. Modimo teng bafethu. Modimo uteng, idlozi likhona for abathembele edlozini. The universe is the I am now at a point in my life where I am centered and I know that I'm here for a purpose and I'm on assignment, and my assignment is to fulfill what God wrote for me when I was spirit. Now I always say God. Now one day I was spirit, God was like, hey, melogu bendo screw. It's in Peter was like, some tuna lomtwa. And then God had a book. There's a book about my life. I'm a firm believer that for everything that happens in my life, good or bad, the way that this is good, this is bad, there is a date and time for everything that happens in my life. And I'm a firm believer that whatever happens to me happens for me, for my growth. And whatever happens for me and to me, God has already given me the strength to get through it. There is nothing in the world, in this world, that can happen to me that God can't take me out through, that He can't get me through. So I'm a person that when something happens to me, I pause and I'll be like, what would God do? And I listen to the spirit within, about my circumstances. Before I tell you, my friends will tell you, I can go in front of them and they won't know until I've spoken to God and I know what God says about my situation. And then after 3 weeks, I'll be like, you guys, you didn't know that this is what I am going through. And be like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, God, but you know, Uti, I only tell you after the professor has told me what I need to do. And thankfully, I have friends that afford me that space to be me. So my word to you is that with growing up poor, with having a job, losing a job, being sexually assaulted, losing a job, working at a call center, and everything else that has happened in between, I'm at a point where I'm just like, baby, God is the designer and the creator of me. All I'm doing is just to follow whatever path that He set me. And one thing I do now, one thing I always pray about is that Nkosi ngisize ngihlale esabelweni sami. Modimo nthuse kidule kabelong yakhe. Ukuthi uNkulunkulu angisize ngingayifisi into omunye umuntu and when something good happens to another person, to congratulate them, not from but to be like, the same God that is doing it for them can do it for me. And it's the exact thing that they want, because they can't go through what I went through, and I can't go through the things that they're going through. So for me to be this happy person that y'all are seeing every day, who's always making sure, is because I've accepted that this is who I am. This is who I am, and this is how I am. And whatever happens for me is for me, and nobody else can ever do Poloso the way that I do Poloso. And I can't do Tuto the way Tuto does Tuto. And I can't do Rochelle the way Rochelle does Rochelle. You know, I can't. And whatever happens to Rochelle, I'm happy for this girl. And you know. So my thing for you is that and if you don't know what your purpose on this earth is, and what is it that I'm supposed to do? Now, should I die any day? 1, I will die happy. 2, I would have made God proud, and I would have been kind to the people that I will die around. That's how I live. Or should I just now? I live my life as authentically as possible, and I just try to be a good person all the time. All the time, I just try to be a good person. Yes, I have my faults here and there, and there's people I've hurt with my words and my actions, but I'm one to apologize when I've wronged Mutumo, and I'm one to mend bridges, because I'm a dustbin. I only pick it up for other people. So it's just that type of thing that I try to live as authentically as possible, because I never want to miss a moment to be myself and trying to be Moto Omong. I never want to find myself because I'm gonna miss the blessing that I am right now. And I haven't achieved most of the things that I want, but here's what I know. Everything that I will achieve on this earth, it was designed for me. And since I've said the prayer to God, I'm starting to do things that are aligned with me. 1, this YouTube channel is something that is very aligned with me, and I didn't know. And a friend of mine has been prophesying it on me. I'm like, nah, YouTube. And me making clothes is something that is aligned for me. And me becoming a cost and management accountant is something that is aligned for me. And me having the Poloso M Foundation is something that is aligned for me. So, hey, Nina, nilele lapho amanye amadlozi amanye inyawo nina nilele so vukani and show me what is it that I'm supposed to do. And I promise you, you will find what is it that you have to do, and nobody can do what you do the way that you do it, and nobody can be as funny as I am. Nobody. There's people who are funny, and then there's me, you know. So or maybe so all I'm saying is that so all I'm saying that is that what is it that you're supposed to do with your life? And whatever that comes from God has no strife. We are conditioned to think we have to struggle in order to. Nowhere in the Bible does it say struggle then get compensation. Nowhere. He says, I come to bring life and bring abundance. So if you want G-Wagon, you deserve that G-Wagon winner, babes. So how if you stay on path, you'll find yourself, and you'll find the things that make you happy, and you'll start attracting those people that will make you happy. and you don't have to struggle for anything. And for whatever that you're going through now, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You just need to find strength in you to fight for another day. And konke kuyandlula. Like konke kuyandlula. One day you wake up and you've went through what you thought you wouldn't go through, and you're just like, me. And me sharing my story is for you to go share your story with somebody else, because the only way we can ever change the world is a chain reaction. I share my story, you get inspired, you get through whatever you're going through, you share it with another person. We can create a better world. We really can, you know. And for me is to show you how we all go through stuff. Even me, the funny person on Twitter, I have things that keep me up at night. I have things that worry me. Will they ever happen? You know, I have things that I wonder if they will ever happen. But I pray about those things, and I have faith that if God put it in my heart, then He will fulfill it one way or the other. So have faith, lithandaze, and look forward to a better life, you know, because konke kuyandlula. Konke kuyandlula. Whatever it is that you're going through now, kuzondlula sisi, kuzondlula booty, and it will be like it never happened. And one day you will look back and be like, ooh, you know. And konke kuyandlula, uthandaze, yazi uthandaze, umtshela uG baby, uthandaze ngenhliziyo yakho yonke. Modimo o tseba ditakatso tsa rona kaofela, and Modimo o twa dithapelo tsa rona kaofela. I hope you guys who are watching will take something from this, and I wish you well. I wish you love. Don't worry. Nah, I'm here to live for a very long time. I wish you well. I wish you love. Kore Modimo a ka lefa tsohle tseo le di lakaletsang. Modimo a lefe mesebetsi ya matsoho. Modimo a lefe bana ba le batlang bana. Modimo a lefe mesebetsi ba le kopang mesebetsi. Modimo a lefe bophelo ba ba kopang bophelo. Modimo a lefe matla. Modimo a lefe tjhelete. Wait. Modimo a lefe dintlo tse le di lakaletsang, dikoloi, anything that le balabalelang. My prayer ho Modimo le badimo ke gore ba lefe tsohle tseo le di lakaletsang, like your deepest desires. Modimo a lefe tsona. Ha sa utlwi tsa lona dithapelo, a utlwe thapelo e nna ke itjhong for lona gore Modimo a lefe tsohle tseo le di kopang. A lefe matla, ha le hloka matla, a lefe bophelo, a le boloke gore le tle le bone bomosa ba hao. From nna Pholoso ya Morena.